Dota is a sick mental game. It brings out the best and worst in you. It comes down to half a second where you just can't predict what's going to happen. You try to look at everything as pieces and pawns. You try to look at it as simply the game. Who ended up winning the mental warfare always won the series. That's how you're going to win tournaments. That's how you win the tournament. If you break the other mind, it gets really easy. Some minds are really hard to beat, though.
These were the words spoken by Johan No-Tail Sunstein, captain of OG, winners of the International 2018 and 2019. As he says, Dota 2 is a game that brings out both the best and worst in its players. Infamous for its daunting learning curve and unforgiving community, getting into Dota has always been a challenge for new players. Nevertheless, since its first release in 2011, Dota has garnered a fanbase that is so passionate about the game, it borders on being cult-like. How has it done this despite the aforementioned hurdles? What is it about this game that makes it so special to its players? We aim to explore these questions and Dota through this presentation. Dota is often considered as the grandfather of the MOBA genre. Beginning as a mod of Warcraft 3, it has since become a genre-defining video game, pioneering new features for both MOBAs and video games as a whole. However, Dota is not without its flaws. The most notable one is its new player experience. Newcomers to Dota are often overwhelmed by the hundreds of heroes and items that are all available from the very beginning. Furthermore, because of Dota's age, the average skill level of its player base has continuously risen, further increasing the gap between a new player and the average players of the game. As a result, the few new players that decide to try the game are quickly turned away because of how difficult it is to enjoy the game as a beginner. This creates a vicious cycle where new players are turned away from the game because of bad experiences, but with fewer new players coming in, it's harder for the game to create balanced matches for these newcomers, further worsening the experience for the remaining beginners. So then, how are new players brought into the game? As part of this project, Dota players of all skill levels were interviewed to get their perspective on the game. An overwhelming majority mentions that they were introduced to the game by a friend. It seems that this is a very common occurrence and the main way that new players are introduced to the game. The lack of advertising and difficulty of Dota probably means that without someone to show you the game and guide you through your early hours, beginners would never be able to find their footing before their curiosity was replaced by frustration. Looking back, I was also introduced to Dota by a classmate, and without playing with him for my initial games, I would not have become hooked enough to invest the next 7,000 hours. Similarly, most of my friends who play Dota were introduced and taught by me. It seems that the community makes up for the game's lack of publicity and insane difficulty by taking it upon themselves to foster the growth of new players. As a result, the Dota community often feels more tight-knit than others because of this link between its players. The newer generation owe their, for lack of a better word, Dota careers to the veterans of the game who brought them in. While there are many gaming communities that are passionate, this aspect of the Dota community is quite unique and offers a certain subconscious feeling of camaraderie between its players. So once a player has found their place in the game, what keeps them playing? The players we interviewed gave many different answers for this particular question. Many of the lower ranked players mentioned that they play Dota to spend time with their friends, and some even said that it's, surprisingly, relaxing for them. A common trend among the lower ranked players was their view on the game. Most of their attitude to Dota was more casual, seeing it as a way to spend time with friends or to wind down after a long day. While there were a few who played Dota seriously, a significant portion had a much more casual attitude towards the game. This was in stark contrast to the higher ranked players we interviewed, most of which mentioned they played Dota to either play in tournaments or to improve at the game. Consequently, many of these high-ranked players also said their enjoyment of the game comes from being able to hone their skills while playing it. To these players, Dota was less of a middleman for some alternate goal. Rather, it was the focus of their attention. That is, they played Dota because they wanted to play good Dota. While the correlation between how serious a player took a game and how good they were at a game seems quite straightforward, the attitude towards the game of high MMR Dota players are significantly different from their League of Legends counterparts. One-tricking is a concept in many MOBAs and character-based arena games where players almost exclusively play the same character. This is usually not optimal as different characters have varying strengths and weaknesses. Nevertheless, one-trickers will spam the same character because they enjoy its playstyle or its aesthetic, often picking it into matches where the character is heavily countered. While this practice usually allows a player to be extremely skilled with a particular character, they become significantly worse when playing anything else. This usually isn't a huge issue in most games. However, Dota once again differs in this aspect. While the term one-tricking is a common phrase in games such as Overwatch and League of Legends, it is a terminology that is almost completely absent from the Dota lexicon. There are a few possible reasons for this. The first explanation could be that the complexity of Dota means that there are many more games where a particular hero is completely countered and picking it will be extremely detrimental. This would dissuade one-trickers as their chosen Dota hero is game losing much more often. However, when this question was posed to the interviewed players, a different theory was also put forward. Compared to games like Overwatch and League, Dota has a lot less focus on lore and character development. As a result, while most of the Dota heroes are uniquely designed with interesting concepts, it is extremely rare to hear players of the game mention they spam a particular hero because they relate to it or really enjoy the hero's aesthetic. This touches on another key distinction that may separate Dota from similar games. Once again, looking at Overwatch and League, where there is a bigger focus on characters and aesthetics, Dota is more Spartan in comparison. While Dota does have lore, it has never been the emphasis of the game like it has been in, for example, Overwatch. Rather, Dota has always been very chess-like in this regard. When Dota players jump into a match, their objective is usually to win the match, and do whatever is necessary to achieve this goal. This mindset applies to all aspects of the game, such as choosing the best hero to synergize together and counter the opponent, building the optimal items, and making the correct strategic and tactical decisions. This attitude is probably another reason why one-tricking is absent from the game. Your hero pick directly influences the kind of game you will play, much more so than in any other video game due to the complex interactions each hero has with every other hero. In a game as complicated as Dota, it is impossible to play optimally in every aspect and be correct with your heroes, your items, and your decisions. However, for many players, the fun is in figuring out the answer to these puzzles and getting the satisfaction of watching it all come together during a match. In this sense, Dota is a very pure MOBA with minimal bells and whistles, where the aim of the game is to provide players with the best strategic experience possible, starting from the moment you choose which hero to play in a match. Contributing to the cult-like feeling of the community, Dota players tend to be very dedicated to the game. Many Dota players only play Dota and very seldomly play anything else. Why is this? For some, it's because they'd rather spend their time trying to figure out answers to the Dota puzzles. For others, it's because no other game offers the same kind of high as Dota can. However, for most players, it's a combination of the depth of Dota offering limitless scenarios and the satisfaction it can offer when all those puzzle pieces fit together perfectly, even if it's just for one match. The best example of this is the Dota esports scene. The International is Dota's flagship esport event. From its very first iteration in 2011, TI has repeatedly broken the record for its monstrous prize pool. However, the prize pool has never been the main focus of TI. Rather, for the community, TI has always been about the best Dota. Because of the dedication most players have towards the game, a large portion of the Dota community also keep track of the competitive side of Dota. A major reason Dota players watch the pro scene is for those top tier plays that only come together in a coordinated team environment. Seeing teams like LGD simultaneously make 2 plays on 2 different parts of the map, or Team Tundra pick an unconventional support hero but make it seem broken. A big attractiveness of the Dota pro scene is watching the best players in the world seemingly solve the infinitely complicated puzzle of Dota 2. Lots of the most satisfying and awe-inspiring plays in Dota aren't the mechanical outplays, cool as they are. Instead, it is watching one team make multiple small strategic decisions better than the other, and the culmination of all those decisions resulting in a cleanly executed teamfight during a close game. Because of the highly strategic nature of Dota, many of the plays you see in the pro scene always feel replicable because they are almost always about making better decisions and not about clicking your buttons faster. This increases the attractiveness of the Dota pro scene, with many members of the community still watching it even after quitting the game. Dota is one of the most difficult video games out there, a badge that the Dota community wears with pride. Learning the game as a newcomer is challenging, especially with the unforgiving community. However, if you have friends who can teach you the game and help you figure it out, you'll find that Dota is one of the most rewarding games available. Yes, its complexity is terrifying, but at the same time, its depth is what makes it so incredibly satisfying to play and watch. Dota has managed to carve out a unique spot for itself and set itself apart from other games from similar genres. Its unforgiving and pragmatic approach to the MOBA genre has allowed it to become one of the best strategic experiences that video games can offer. Its intricacy has also given rise to one of the most popular spectator esports ever, with a flagship event that breaks its own record every year. Dota has some incredible highs and devastating lows. Offering an unparalleled experience both with its gameplay and esports, it has cemented itself as the MOBA experience.
I strongly believe that if I woke up in the morning and I had to play the TI final, I would play the best Dota of my life. That's all that would matter to me. If I played my very best, nothing else would matter.